going to be having a very interesting conversation with Bismarck Rewani, the Chief Executive Officer at Financial Derivatives Company. In the last 2 weeks, we saw the April purchasing managers numbers from the Central Bank of Nigeria from FBN Quest looking positive, showing manufacturing activity in a gentle rebound. The Naira has also climbed about 25% against the dollar over the last 10 weeks. These are part of the stories within the LBS Breakfast Club report for the month of May, and Bismarck Rewani is live in the studios in Lagos with my colleague Chimeze Obiwagu to talk us through this very interesting conversation, giving us some outlook on where the economy is heading. Chimeze, over to you.
Thank you very much, Bosun. Well, Mr. Rewani and his economic team in their latest LBS executive breakfast report released last week noted that although the Naira has appreciated some 25% against the dollar in the past 10 weeks, economic activity in Nigeria is lagging the gains posted by the Naira. Well, just as you mentioned, Mr. Bismarck Rewani is here with me in the studio to talk through all of this. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, in your latest LBS report, your team noted that a strong currency does not necessarily go along with a strong economy. Give us a summary of what your economic think tank is talking about in your LBS report as far as Nigerian economy is concerned.
Yeah, what we are saying is that a strong currency is not synonymous with a strong economy, one. Two, often people carry out misdiagnosis. In other words, you think that because a currency is weak, that was the cause of the economic weakness. It's a symptom of a fundamental weakness. And so fixing the currency value or misalignment does not necessarily mean that you will get away from the problem that you have. So let me take it. What we had was a steep economic slowdown, which manifests itself in a recession. And with the recession came a lot of despair. And so at this point in time, when we saw the currency appreciating in value, we called it an escape from anxiety. People were anxious, but they were not sure as to the sustainability, one, or whether this was for real. But what do we have right now? What we have is a situation where we have a flexible exchange rate policy in theory. We have in practice a managed fixed rate, and we have a market structure which is called a price discriminating monopoly. In other words, you are selling the same product at different prices and within the same market. So the next slide will show you here that we have, in all, we have about 7 or 8 rates. The most lucrative rate being that of tradables at 305, IATA rate for airlines 307. We have invisibles at 360, BDCs at 375, export investor window at 383, and street rate at 390 or 392, and then of course the transfers in the market. That's a
multiple exchange rates that seem to have become an issue.
Yeah, it is symptomatic, but what is important is that the difference between the rates have actually narrowed to about 100 naira. It used to be as wide as 250 naira. So the incentive for what we call financial osmosis has actually reduced. And what we are seeing is a much more efficient market. However, market structure is still fundamentally wrong. And, you've got to go back and ask yourself, one is the price, which is the exchange rate. The price is the exchange rate, the market structure. So even if you fix the price, if the market structure is defective, sooner or later you come back to the same problem. So what's the market structure that we're looking at? The only important development, two important developments on the market structure. One is that the central bank has effectively adopted a crawling peg methodology, which means that it allowed the effective rate for invisibles go from 305 to 360 after touching 375. But then structurally is allowed investors and exporters to actually find the market, and that is 383. So that's a better indicator of market value than any other price at this point in time.
Now, is it possible for the CBN to actually unify this exchange?
That's not the responsibility of the central bank. The Central Bank of Nigeria is a regulator. and set the market parameters. A price will emerge from market interaction between demand and supply. The moment the Central Bank of Nigeria wants to start determining price, which is what it's doing now, it's an exercise in futility. It's never going to achieve anything. Even if you achieve equilibrium, it's going to be a static equilibrium. The dynamism of markets will make sure that market, it won't take long before you fall out of equilibrium. But let's go back to determine what are the major determinants of the value of the currency. If you look at it, the balance of trade of Nigeria has gone from minus $0.5 billion to $3.8 billion, which is positive. The terms of trade has moved negatively to about 15.9 from it was 100 in 2005. Net foreign direct investment flows have increased to $3.3 billion, and Nigeria has availed itself of a euro bond loan of $1 billion, then 0.5. It was oversubscribed. They got about $8 billion in all at about 7.75, where the market anticipated about 8%. So all those are positive. We have export credit facilities from the Chinese coming in for about $6 billion, and we have World Bank support for the power sector from the World Bank coming in. So those are positive things. However, until we allow the oil companies to start selling part, or if not all, of their proceeds into the market so that the banks can then begin to trade on a two-way code basis, you are still going to be dancing around. You've seen oil prices drop 15%, all the way from 53, 55, 57, all the way to 46, and now at 49. And production, thank God, has gone up. But you'll find that fundamentally, oil, the only reason why your currency has appreciated, it's not because of anybody's. The policy helped a little bit, but the main thing is that oil production has been stable. We have engaged, that is the Nigerian government has engaged the militants in the Niger Delta. There's been 6 visits by the Vice President to the Niger Delta in this period. So vandalism and sabotage has actually declined. And so your oil revenues have actually increased to about $2.5 billion a month from about $700 million a month last year. So I think that's something interesting. However, let's look at other countries that are in a similar position. I think that's important to note. We have Angola, Russia, Venezuela, and Brazil. All of these countries got into a recession. Most of these countries, the 3 of them are major oil producers. And what has happened is that you've seen they've not focused on the currency. They allowed their currencies to float, except for Venezuela, which manages currency, and in the end, it's a basket case. Nobody wants to be like Venezuela, right? So what has happened in Angola? Angola has seen a growth of minus 0.5%. We've seen their reserves at about $20 billion, and we've seen their currency actually depreciate by 18.49%. No worries about that. In the case of Russia, we saw the currency depreciate, and now it has appreciated by about 23%. And in the case of Brazil, which